Hello everyone, this is part 8 of What If Naruto Got His Wish, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Seated formally at their table in the plain, largely unfurnished room, the Hyuga clan's advisory council, primarily elders and including but not limited to former clan heads, met for the third time in that week. Though each one spoke with a calm, almost inflectionless tone, the tension within the room was readily palpable to anyone paying attention. Fortunately, they were the only ones within the room, and nobody else could feel their fear. It would not do to have people think that the higher-ups in Hyuga politics were actually under such stress. A bent stick of a man, barely 5 feet tall and so thin that he almost might have slipped in underneath the door, rose to his feet to address the small congregation. "It has happened at last, my kinsman," he wheezed. "Our revered lord, Hiashi-sama, begins to see the truth of his daughter's behavior." A younger member of the elder council, whose hair had not entirely turned gray, snorted. "It is past time he did. For the last 3 years we have mongered these rumors over and over, and brought as much evidence to the table as we could garner. But the fool refused to believe. He wouldn't hear anything against his precious daughter until his other daughter, a much better candidate for leadership, shoved the truth under his nose." The sickly man narrowed his milky white eyes. "You would do well not to insult our master, young one. Disagree with his methods if you must, as even I am wont to do, but do not forget that he is still your ultimate commander. We cannot openly speak against him." Grumbling, the younger elder sank back into his seat. The older counselor continued. "Now that Hiashi-sama is in doubt, we should do all in our power to force the issue, make our revered lord certain that Hinata-sama is not fit to govern our clan. We can no longer claim so on the basis of her weakness, for her weakness has vanished. Therefore, we will seek to prove that she cannot make proper judgments." "I," said a large, barrel-chested, grizzled old Hyuga near the end of the table. "Gallivanting around with a demon is surely unbecoming of a Hyuga, especially a successor." Many heads nodded in agreement. But what of the demon boy himself? If he has developed an attachment to Hinata-sama, and is being aided by Haruka as Hiashi-sama says, then he could still threaten. "Measures are being taken to remove Haruka from his aid as we speak," wheezed the first elder. "Her own kinsmen in the branch house were more than willing to go and capture her for us. She is not well known in the village. We will be able to hold her here, unquestioned, until the situation is controlled, and then we will remove her from the village to a place where she may do no harm forevermore." "Even so," pressed the large elder, "the demon's mortal father, Uzumaki, nearly overcame us despite our efforts to stop him. The boy is not as mature or as experienced as he. He is still a demon, however, and even without Haruka's knowledge, he has allies. Suppose that his cohort, the one who styles himself after the Great Father." "Our revered lord is not entirely a fool, as I have said," interrupted the first. "The demon's cohort is no more our ancestor than he is a threat to our system. Hiashi-sama knows as well as you or I that he is a self-deceiving lunatic attempting to revenge his father, Uzumaki, by destroying us while in the semblance of our father. He is powerful, yes, but he cannot harm us, as even he acknowledges. He can trouble us only through his younger sibling, the demon child, and Hinata-sama. We will allow neither to believe that we will allow it." A fourth elder spoke up from his seat across the table from the first. "If I may ask, my respected senior, how do you propose to stop him? We cannot simply purge the demon, for there are too many in the village, Hokage-sama among them, who would charge us as cold BM even though we would be doing him a favor." The first elder nodded, then replied, "We do not need to K him at all. Why should we, when there are plenty who may do it for us?" An elder at the other end of the table whispered to his neighbor, "I doubt anybody told Hiroto that before he was sent." "Ooh." From the roof above the secret meeting of the advisory council, a young man with silver eyes, clad in traditional Hyuga robes, deactivated his Byakugan. From what he had read on his senior's lips, things were about to become very rough for his new friends. Silent and fleet-footed as a panther stalking prey, Hyuga Neji leaped from the rooftop and hurried off to look for Haruka. "Ooh." Hyuga Hiroto was a man who came easily to anger. Although he had been the captain of the elite guards since Hiashi had taken power, it was common practice within the clan that the clan head and the captain of the guard came to power and left it together, and although he was perfectly happy to carry out his duties, his life left something to be desired: family. He was part of a large extended family within the Hyuga, of course, but he had virtually nobody that he could have hailed as true brethren. His parents had died in the line of duty when he was 3 years old, and his cousin Hisashi, the only person he'd felt close to since the death of his parents, who had left him with no siblings, had been sacrificed for the sake of his brother years ago. The unjustified death of Hisashi had made him a bitter man as well as which did not endear him to women, so he had no wife and no children. He was unloved, and easily the most quick-tempered man among the Hyuga. Luckily, he was also one of the most disciplined Hyuga, for otherwise he might have lashed out dangerously in his anger and gotten himself in serious trouble. He had been annoyed to be sent running off after Hyashi's daughter, a job that should have been easy for any Hyuga with a brain: check all of her usual hangouts, check with the gate guard to see if she'd left the village walls, follow his directions, wait for Kakashi the copy ninja to get out of the way in case force was necessary, then tell her she's been ordered to come with you. If she resists, just grab her. The blonde devil's challenge had brought forth his icy rage. He almost killed the young fool outright, without bothering to fight him, but his discipline denied him that pleasure. If the boy was simply too clumsy or stupid to guard himself properly, though, well, it wouldn't be his fault, now, would it? It had been the devil who'd picked the fight, not him. The demon child attacked him head-on, predictable as clockwork. Hiroto's anger began to give way to sadistic enjoyment as he lazily s the punches away, slipped aside of the kicks. He toyed with the boy for several seconds, finally grabbing hold of his arm and stepping on his foot to prevent him from jumping away. He faked a yawn to spite the brat, then flicked his Byakugan on and jabbed his fingers at the boy's shoulder, meaning to see chakra flow to his right arm. He wanted to defuse the kid slowly, playfully, and end it with his opponent twitching on the ground, unable to stop him from hauling Hinata-sama away. Hiroto wasn't going to have that satisfaction, however. The rapid-fire blows struck the Tenketsu's Dion, but Hiroto's Byakugan did not register an end to the chakra flow. It saw instead an outward projection of it, snaking out of the Tenketsus he had just struck and out of all the Tenketsus in the boy's body. They danced aimlessly in the air around the two of them, waiting for some silent instruction from the main body. Hiroto's anger returned, and his face screwed up in surprise and rage. Ha ha, Naruto crowed, looks like I'm not the only one who didn't pay attention in history lessons. The Rokujuon Reud blocks your chakra manipulation, dunce. Didn't you guys learn from the last person who used it? The provocation worked well enough. In fact, Hiroto hadn't been present when the last person was working his work. He'd been undergoing his inception into the elite guard, which involved highly intense training and little time for history lessons. The branch captain forgot entirely his intention to merely subdue the brat, and drew back his palm to deliver a Keijuken strike. The strike was stopped long before it could reach flesh. A thick appendage made entirely of chakra blocked its path. Hiroto was both shocked and outraged to see that it was made of intertwined strands of the extended chakra coils, and that there were 8 more just like it attached in the same place at the base of Naruto's spinal column. 9 tails, he shouted in fury. You've even gone so far as to mimic your previous demonic form. I will purge you, devil boy. He rushed upon Naruto with both hands full of K-rage-made chakra. The boy parried with his chakra tails and counterattacked with his fists and feet. Hiroto used all of his power and experience in the Juken style, turning every dodging motion into a strike, every parried blow into an evasion, and every near miss into more fuel for his fury. From the sidelines, Hinata clasped her hands before her, squeezing them together in fright for Naruto. The blonde shinobi fought hard and fought valiantly, fully using the advantages of his 9 extra limbs. However, he was not a master as Hiroto was. The Hyuga captain was stronger, more agile, and more learned than he, and many strikes came close to hitting their mark. Hiroto was not holding back. She knew a single hit would be fatal. She wanted desperately to go to him, throw herself into the conflict and halt it, but she saw Hiroto's lieutenants hovering nearby, waiting to prevent her from moving. There was no way that she could go through them and reach Naruto in time. Naruto-kun, she breathed, becoming sick with dread. Already she could see that the blonde was tiring. Hiroto's rapid and skilled attacks eating up his stamina. He would fail soon, and there was nothing that Hinata could do about it. Beside her, Sakura was also looking extremely worried. She knew Naruto better than the Hyuga girl, and knew what desperation could drive him to. Tsunade had told her all about the red chakra that was her old teammate's trump card. She feared for her friend's life, of course, and for Hinata's safety, but she also feared what Naruto's fight for survival and domination would bring forth from within him. Naruto could feel his heart racing within him, ready to explode. His lungs burned with strain, trying desperately to supply his muscles with the oxygen they needed to keep up with Hiroto's assault. Every movement had to be forced through fatigue, every breath had to be drawn in spite of pain. And all this from exhaustion, versus an opponent who had 9 fewer hands than he did. How the hell is he so good with just his taijutsu? He thought. I have to focus almost completely on parrying, and I'm lucky if I can get a punch off. There's no time to form any hand seals at all, and he follows me every time I try to jump away. How the heck can I beat this? Then Hinata's fears were played out. Hiroto smiled triumphantly, knocked aside a last pestering tail, and rammed a full blast of M-chakra straight into Naruto's heart. The container of Kyuubi was hurled off his feet and his back into a tree, then slumped to the ground. Ooh. She couldn't say that she didn't expect to be ambushed by her own clansmen, but Haruka certainly didn't expect an organized attack of this magnitude. She was currently surrounded by no less than 15 members of the branch house. All of them fully geared, fully armed, and looking very, very happy to have caught her alone. Their headbands glinted in the flashing lightning above, flickering promises of doom. Unless, of course, she cooperated, as promised the leader of the pack. Haruka noted that the middle-aged woman that had accosted her at the Hyuga front gate was not among them. Whether she was too ill in her head or not gutsy enough to face Haruka herself, Haruka did not care. There were other enemies among her own kin, and these were them. She had to get herself out of this, somehow. They stood just outside the village walls, barely out of earshot of the gate guards. It was a bold move they were making, not much closer to the gate and they would have drawn attention to themselves. Haruka supposed that she should have known better than to take a stroll so far out of the safe haven of the village streets, but she was one who needed a taste of wilderness every now and again, and she hadn't been able to stay inside long. She had thought it would be okay, since most Hyuga would not have been able to guess her habits, she having been gone so long. So, Hiashi must have tipped you off, she said bitterly. Inwardly, she scorned herself for thinking that Hiashi would be merciful. No, not at all, said the leader. Your friend, Hiashi, has nothing to do with this. It was the High Counselor that thought you might come out for a little air. He is old and very wise. He would have to be, wouldn't he? Said Haruka. Since you have to be a pretty senile old fart to become High Counselor. Below her cold expression, Haruka's mind felt a little relieved. Hiashi might have read her letter and sent the whole clan out after her, but apparently he wasn't completely given over to cold, emotionless dictatorship. He had opted to simply ignore her. However, the advisory council was another matter entirely. HMPH, grumped the leader, that may be, but we in the prime of life also have our reasons to see you locked away under the compound, one of them being that we will be able to catch you up on all the great fun you've been missing while you were off in your sheltered little home away from home. Having no doubts about what kind of fun he had in mind, Haruka said, your offer is noted. However, I already am late to several previous engagements, one of them being the redemption of our beleaguered branch house, and so I must decline. You'll understand if I go my own way now. Several of the enemies surrounding her chuckled. The leader replied, so, it's redemption, is it? How laughable, allying with a demon child and a lunatic to save us. Though she had heard the words countless times before, this seemed to be a case of too many straws on the camel's back. The Hyuga outcast trembled with anger. Naruto-kun is the Kyuubi's jailer, you arrogant half-wits. Haruka yelled. If not for him, the true demon would have razed this village years ago. And Keisuke, blind idiot that he is, has more sight into the heart of things than all of your Byakugan eyes together. If he is a lunatic, then I will tear out my own eyes before I believe it. The defiant words rang out in the afternoon forest, and it seemed that all of the wildlife was silent in solemn tribute to her determination. If that is your wish, said the squadron leader, then we will be glad to assist you. But come now, we've wasted too much time already. Keeping us talking in hopes that a patrol would eventually find us was clever, but our patience only stretches so thin. Will you yield yourself to us, Haruka-san? Haruka stood her ground, eyes blazing white fury. She neither spoke nor moved. The leader sighed. Very well, take her. A hand signal sent the 14 other members of the capture team straight at the outcast. Moving as one, the semicircle closed in upon the target with terrible speed, leaving no room to escape. With a wall at her back and only enemies before her, Haruka knew there was only one way out of this fight, and hold nothing back. As Naruto would have taught, surrender is never an option. She fell into her Juken stance, brought the chakra up from the depths of herself. She loathed fighting against her own kin. Yet she knew that, in a way, she was also fighting for them, and for her own redemption. This was what drove her, she used it as her sword and her salve. As the 14 attackers closed on her, she brought her rage and determination to the surface, twirled with the force of a gale, and sent it all lashing out at the Hyuga who were both enemies and friends. The ground crumbled at her feet, and the capture team was flung backward. A few intelligent fighters turned their momentum to their advantage, and guided themselves to a safe landing. More than half of them, however, were sent careening across the forest floor, sustaining mild to moderate injury. The leader's face revealed shock and awe. So, you have been taught the chitin, he said, amazement showing through his tone. No member of the branch family is meant to know that maneuver, and only one has ever figured it out for himself. Where could you have gleaned the knowledge? Haruka came gracefully out of her spin and settled back into her Juken stance. Let us say, she said, her pupils contracting with deep purpose, that it pays to have known the head of the clan when he was younger and less strict. Don't worry, when Keisuke and I succeed, you also will be granted powers that you have been denied. Looking into her crackling eyes, the leader had a very queasy feeling come over him. He could see that she believed in and meant everything that she said. But was she believing truth? No, he thought. She has either chosen to believe a lie, or she is demented. Do not relent, he commanded. She is strong, but now we know her strength, and the superiority of our numbers remains. Taking their commander's words to heart, the capture team picked themselves up and renewed their advance. This time they were more cautious. They came in ones and twos so as not to provoke another chitin, and they rotated in and out in a coordinated dance of death. Haruka, however, had fought such coordinated assaults before, against Naruto's armies of cage buncheons. She ducked over and under, juked left and juked right, evading all their efforts. She was the center of a maelstrom, her hands were the event horizon of a black hole. Her enemies were drawn to her, and if they were not quick enough, they would be sucked into her Juken palm and enter the dark void, never to return. 2 of her enemies fell. The attack became more frantic, less coordinated. Another went down. Morale among her enemies went down with him. A 4th was rendered unable to attack due to chakra being off from both of his arms. A 5th was gouged in his eyes and collapsed to the ground, whimpering like a child. With only 9 opponents left, Haruka began to feel fear seeping into the hearts of her foes. This knowledge elated her, brought her into a state of mind where nothing mattered but herself and her opponent, and how she was destroying that opponent both physically and mentally. It was almost like Keisuke liked to call it her sadist's glow. She stood in their midst like a mighty colossus, wielding fury and chakra together in a symphony of destruction. Wherever her feet landed, winds kicked up, hurling dust in the eyes of the enemy. Wherever her gaze turned, her foes cringed, fearing for their lives. Yet they were not broken, they kept coming, if in a less and less organized fashion. Well, she thought, they're about scared enough now, so we can fix that rather easily. The black bandana that she kept wrapped around her cursed seal came loose at her behest, fluttering to the ground. Exposed to the eyes of her enemies was her seal, but it was not the seal that the Hyuga capture team expected to see. A normal caged bird seal was etched in green, burned into the skin like a scar. They were shocked to discover that Haruka's seal appeared more like it had been merely written upon her forehead by an elegant calligraphist, not burned. And the seal itself was shining a very peculiar color. Haruka smiled, remembering the day she had been blessed with this new seal. It had come about when Keisuke had lost to her in a drinking contest. Pay up, blind man, Haruka said, smiling the superior, triumphant smile that Keisuke hated. Gah, I'm flat broke, whined the red-faced Keisuke. His speech was slurred, and he couldn't seem to manage sitting up straight. Would ye take an IOU? No, she pressed on, knocking him off of the bar stool to the floor with a flick of her finger. She waited until he had righted himself, grunting painfully, and then put on her most sadistic tone of voice. I think I'll enjoy my reward now. A reward of entertainment. Damn. Strip to your boxes and run 10 times around the building, singing at the top of your lungs. Grr. What shong. When he was roaring drunk, Keisuke was surprisingly obedient. He was out of his pants and his shirt within 20 seconds, and was drawing a great many stares. Surprise me. Just about anything you can sing while you're wasted would humiliate you as much as 10 defeats at my hands. Rah. I can't think of anything right now. Keisuke thought a moment, looking very comical in his boxes and sandals, his red face a mess of drunken concentration. Shay, he said, what if I gave you a present? Haruka was intrigued. What kind of present? Keisuke grinned like a happy child. Haruka felt one of his ghostly arms slip underneath her bandana and brush up against her forehead. What? She said, astonished. Keisuke did not answer, but instead worked more of his arm up to her forehead. She felt a cool tingle on her caged bird seal, as though the arm was a balm to the charred canyons that the main family had burned into existence there. Haruka dropped to her knees next to Keisuke, seized him by the shoulders. What the hell did you just do? You know what you were messing with. The blind man grinned stupidly. I fixed it, he said. Fathead family can't hurt you with it anymore. My armish in it, my chakrash in it, there Jutsu won't reach through that. Haruka gaped at him. How long had he been keeping this from her? You covered up the caged bird. And, Keisuke said, standing up and looking drunkenly proud of himself, my chakrash foreign, so the main house bastardish won't figure out how to break through it. I'm brilliant. He's something, that's for sure, thought Haruka. Happy birthday, scary loser. Haruka was torn between wondering how he'd found room in his drunken brain to remember her birthday and wondering about the origin of this new name he had for her. The latter option won. Scary loser, huh, Keisuke. Aha, what are you scared of? Harem. It wouldn't be the punishment I keep having to give you, she asked, grabbing the barkeep's pet cat and hurling it into his face, would it? Keisuke thrashed as the feline's claws dug into his face, and finally he tumbled out of the second-story window into the night air. His boxes remained behind, caught on the window latch. Grabbing her camera, Haruka walked over to the window, looked down to where he had landed, unconscious in a dumpster, and snapped off a few quick shots. Now this, she said, is a much better birthday present than I ever expected. The next morning, Keisuke would wake up with his worst hangover yet, wondering why one of his arms was shorter than the other 63 and without the faintest clue of the previous night's events. Haruka smiled fondly at that memory. It was one of her favorites. Then she concentrated, running her chakra through the altered seal and increasing its luster tenfold. Apart from rendering her immune to the nerve jutsu that the main house could perform on the branch, Haruka had discovered that the piece of Reud affixed to the seal fed upon Haruka's chakra to preserve itself, and had the interesting side effect of altering chakra that she pushed through it to resemble Keisuke's. While having been invaded by the blind idiot's energy wasn't the most pleasant of thoughts, it did help her out in certain situations. Being able to replace one's chakra signature with someone else's was an invaluable tool when being pursued by a skilled shinobi. It had also proven useful for scare tactics, for Keisuke's chakra, when visible, was colored differently from most humans when he was in the heat of battle. It was a bright blue, but there was a sickly yellow tint to it that suggested all was not normal with the man. It did the same for her. The seal upon her forehead shone with that same tint as she channeled chakra through it. And as the tainted chakra spread through her, it appeared vividly in the eyes of her Byakugan-wielding opponents. The leader, still standing where he'd been since the fighting began, was aghast with shock. It cannot be. The demon child has passed his taint into his allies. The 9 remaining opponents turned their Byakugan eyes off, unable to believe what they were seeing and frightened to look upon it anymore. This was what Haruka had been hoping for. She brought her hands together in a quick set of seals, preparing a jutsu that was, by Hyuga standards, very unorthodox. You were afraid, Haruka said, layering her voice with all the malice she could muster. That is well. Akuma Gyushi. Demon Gaze. The genjutsu took effect immediately. Her opponents, who had turned off the Byakugans to avoid looking at the unsightly color of Keisuke's chakra, now were forced to look upon it. A gargantuan pair of eyes and a forehead engulfed their vision. The eyes were unmistakably active Byakugan eyes, but instead of blazing silver white, they glimmered with the same bright yellow tainted blue that characterized the seal on the forehead. The brow was contracted in wrathful anger, and their fear of that anger was in complete control. As they cowered, Haruka moved swiftly to knock them all out. One by one, her genjutsu captivated attackers were struck on the head and granted peace in unconsciousness. When it was done, she stood in her victory over the prone forms, facing their leader. He, at least, had had the sense to keep his Byakugan on, and protect himself from the genjutsu. So, he said, as Haruka began a slow march up the hill towards him, it has come to this. Just us two. Man to man. Just you, and me, and my reinforcements. Suddenly, she found herself surrounded by 25 more Hyuga branch members, who leaped into view from the various hiding places out of range of her Byakugan. Haruka's Byakugan barely had time to register the speeding masked Hyuga as he leaped from the wall. Her perception was as good as any Hyuga, but she had expended much energy on the skirmish already, and the man had gotten a running start from beyond the range of her vision. By the time she had turned, the man's chakra-charged palm had struck her squarely in the heart. She keeled over, seemingly dead. The commander breathed a relieved sigh, and deactivated his Byakugan. You've arrived just in time. I thought she would M me for sure. You're in line for a promotion, sir. What is your name, anyway? With my Byakugan off I cannot see your face under. He was silenced by a subtle strike to a pressure point in his spinal column, and toppled to the ground with his fellows. He would live, but there would be no fighting for a while with a pinched nerve. The other 25 branch houses were startled, rushed forward to see who betrayed them. They didn't get the chance. Hakusho Daikaiten. The massive wave of swirling chakra blasted them directly, knocking them asunder. None of them got back up. I apologize, Haruka-san, said the masked Hyuga. If I hadn't made you play D first, this idiot might have guessed he had been betrayed, and looked under the mask before he fell. I don't want to lose my cover just yet. He pulled his mask off, revealing the face of Hyuga Neji. Ooh. Naruto lay before a massive set of vertical steel bars, floating upon the chill waters of the one place where his soul was dark. Affixed to the lock on the heavy metal gate was a paper tag, upon which was written the word, seal. Oh, no, he thought with anger, not this place again. Oh, yes, rumbled the low voice from behind the gate, you are here again. It's been such a long time, boy. You're becoming more skilled at running away. I'm getting better at winning. Naruto protested. I'm strong enough on my own. I can use the Ryude now, thanks to Keisuke, and Eros Sennin's training toughened me up way beyond my old level. It's because I haven't needed you that we haven't seen each other, stupid fox, not because I've been hiding like a pansy. Is that so? You're still weak, little one. Not as weak as the last time we met, I grant you that. But you are running away and hiding from the power that can solve everything for you. You. Yes. As strong as you may become, little one, it is nothing compared to what I can give you. Compared with me, you are a speck. Why do you refuse to gain power? A memory flashed in Naruto's mind, one of Keisuke. Never trust demons. All the power that they promise, they will deliver, of course, but for every ounce of power gained, there is a price that they will exact. More often than not, the power isn't worth half the price. I know, I dealt with demons centuries before you were born. Heed that sniveling coward if you wish, scoffed Kyubi, but you've known me far longer than you've known him. You have seen what I do for you. And you know that even now, your body is dying, lend it to me, and I will mend it. Not only that, I will take vengeance upon that imbecile Hyuga, and then we will sniff out your old friend, Uchiha. You know that I can do this. No sale, stupid fox. Naruto was adamant. He wanted to prove once and for all that he was stronger than Kyubi. But Kyubi only laughed. You are dying, little one. I am the only one who may heal you. Your teammate cannot get to you, she has been seized by the Hyuga's lieutenants. Naruto persisted, despite the fact that he felt himself weakening. I'll keep myself alive, thanks a lot. At least long enough to kick that Hiroto bastard's ass, and then Sakura can heal me. Besides, even if you'll go with me, Sukinoa wouldn't be yours to ransack anyway. Are you certain you want to take that chance? Did you not swear that until you saved Uchiha Sasuke, you would never I thought you didn't break promises, Kyuubi snickered. Naruto pressed with all his will, forcing himself to rise, to make himself fight. But it was all in vain. No amount of willpower could piece his shattered bones back together, staunch the internal and heal his organs. Sakura and Kakashi are still there. If I'm gone, he said. And I won't really If I don't have a body, I can haunt Sasuke in his dreams until he goes insane. He'll see the sacrifices we made for him, and he'll come around. You really believe that, huh? Kyuubi sneered at him, unimpressed. Or are you just too stubborn to take my help and save yourself? Weak child, I am at my wit's end, but perhaps there is one thing yet that might sway you. Here, I will open your eyes for you, you can see for yourself. Naruto felt Kyuubi's chakra flow, and his eyes open. It was not sight as he knew it, it was like watching the outside world through two huge windows. But through it, he could see what Kyuubi wanted him to see. There was Sakura being held fast in the grip of Hiroto's accomplice, pale-faced and struggling, trying to reach him, heal him. The sight moved him. Then he saw the other lieutenant, holding the other girl that had come with him that morning, and was blown away. Hinata's face was the saddest, most beautiful sight he had ever seen. There was no red color in it, for once. Always before, she had never looked at him directly without turning some variation of the color red. Now, though, it was wondrously and lustrously pale, and even with the tears streaking down from her anguished lavender-tinted eyes, Naruto was nearly melted under its radiance. She made no sound, and her lips did not move. All communication was in her eyes, her entrancing pale eyes. They were begging him, pleading with him not to go, not to abandon them. Not to Look at that face, commanded Kyuubi, smiling wickedly all the while. Would you not give up all your soul, even to a stupid fox, if asked by a face like that? No further conversation took place. The decision had already been made. Hiroto released his Byakugan, satisfied that the devil child would soon be gone from the world. He ordered his two lieutenants to seize the girls, hold off the medic until the boy and to prepare Hinata-sama for departure. When the lieutenants encountered resistance, Hiroto moved forward, intending to introduce the whelps to the Sandman. Naruto-kun. Annoyed, Hiroto rolled his eyes. The devil boy is on his way to the abyss. You would do well not to follow him, he said. Then he saw the looks on the girls' faces shift from death shock to astonishment and mild fright. He wondered, turned himself back to face the corpse. Then he was head-butted by the corpse in his gut, producing a very uncomfortable sensation. He flew backwards, skidding to a halt some 50 yards away. Luckily for him, Hiroto had not yet eaten today, which had caused him to be in a particularly bad mood until now, and thus he did not feel an immediate need to throw up. This was well, for he barely dodged the next attack, which was nothing less than a clawed hand formed entirely of chakra. Boiling, dark red chakra. Hiroto flipped his Byakugan back on. His superior vision saw the boy in his entirety, flesh and bone, inner chakra coils, organs, and the road. He could see that all of this was completely engulfed in this new, evil chakra. Even more appalling, the damaged bones and organs were healing before his eyes. It was obvious in a flash that he could not fight this alone. Leave the females, he called to his lieutenants, the demon. Unfortunately, the lieutenants were unable to comply. Each of them had attempted to follow orders, but had been immediately blocked by their former captives. They were locked in combat with Sakura and Hinata, who were working to keep themselves away from the beast as well as their enemies. Hiroto was alone against this demon of dark law. Naruto fought to keep the chakra's destructive impulses in check. He would allow Kyuubi to heal him, and defeat this bastard, but he would let the fox go no further. He maintained conscious control as best he could, though it was difficult. Meanwhile, his 9 tails of light had become 9 tails of flame, with every ghostly arm that had not been used before peeling off from its old location and joining the tail formation at the base of his spine. The intense concentration of evil chakra caused the arms to burst into fire. These tails lashed about in all directions as he ran on all fours towards Hiroto, wilting and scorching in their wake. Leaping into the air, Naruto fanned them out and spun them, generating a burning wind that incinerated the ground where Hiroto had been a split second before. The Hyuga, though he was sweating profusely in the heat, took advantage of Naruto being of his feet to position himself for a strike, waiting for the demon-infused blonde to land. But Naruto's blazing tails enveloped him in a protective firewall, and forced Hiroto to either retreat or collide with the human meteor. Naruto landed on his feet, spread his tails behind him, and gave a howl of frustration. Hiroto knew that this was too much. As angry as he was, there was no way to match this beast's fury, and nothing he could do to negate its power. He did what no Hyuga would think of doing except in the most dire of circumstances. Hiroto completely abandoned his mission. Sprinting away with all the speed he could make, he bounded away into the forest. Hiroto's lieutenants saw this, panicked, and followed suit, disengaging from Sakura and Hinata to flee as best they knew how. Pursue! Roared Kyuubi in Naruto's head. K. Damn you, you stupid demon. This is my body, countered Naruto. I make the rules. They fought an inner struggle, and the shared body reflected it by stamping around on the scorched earth, making angry growls. Neither Sakura nor Hinata dared approach. Naruto-kun, Hinata said. Her voice was barely more than a hoarse whisper. What is this that you've become? What is wrong with you? She stood there a long moment, cowed by her fear of the evil red chakra. Then, Haruka's words came to her out of the chaos of her mind. Push a little, and he will fall right into your arms. Nobody can oppose you. Not even the beast that consumes him. Despite her fear, her legs found themselves moving her tentatively forward. Sakura started in fear, knowing herself what was going on. Hinata-chan, stay back. He's not himself right now. But her words fell on deaf ears. Hinata kept walking, her eyes fixed determinedly and questioningly on the flame-tailed blonde boy. Naruto also saw her coming. He felt destructive instinct coil up inside him, seeing a possible outlet for his frustration. Oh, hell no. Naruto stared the mental Kyuubi in the face as he fought to wrestle him down. You are not gonna make me turn myself over to you for her sake and then K her. You will definitely not sink that low. I might, if you aren't careful, brat. Then Kyuubi's control gave out, and his evil face withdrew back into the darkness of his cage. He took his chakra with him, and the fire of Naruto's tails faded to their regular blue glow, then faded away completely. I win again, he said aloud. It seemed that he had indeed won over Hiroto and, for the moment, over Kyuubi. Ah, well, murmured the fox, we'll see what happens the next time your own strength fails you, which, considering your situation, shouldn't be long in the future at all. At last, the nine-tailed fox demon went to sleep, dreaming his dreams of rampage and chaos as he waited for his next opportunity. If I have anything to say about it, Naruto retorted before going to sleep himself, there isn't gonna be a next time. He collapsed in exhaustion. A pair of slender, supportive arms caught him. As usual, the chakra of the demon fox worked its subtle magic upon its container in his sleep. When Naruto awoke from his exhaustion-induced nap, he was completely whole, without the faintest sign of any lingering damage. He sat up in the bed, surprised to find himself in his own apartment. It was cleaner than normal, that was true, but it was unmistakably his own bed that he'd been sleeping in. Looking around, he spotted a masked ninja guarding his rest, sitting hunched over a book in his chair by the door. Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi looked up from his book. Oh, so you're awake, Naruto, he said. How are you feeling? Same as always, sensei, Naruto said, giving a grin. Where are Sakura and Hinata? They helped bring you here. Sakura did what she could for your injuries, then went looking for your companion, Keisuke. Hinata has gone to retrieve her pack, the Anbu are holding it for her, as she had to drop it while carrying you. There is also medicine within it that she wants to give you, though I doubt you need it. You made Hinata carry me, Kakashi-sensei. Geez, you're lazy. I didn't arrive until after you were halfway home, Kakashi replied. I'm still not in the best shape after that trip to Suna, after all. And also, Hinata insisted. Naruto turned this over in his head. She didn't have to do that. She doesn't owe me anything, and she had an appointment to go to. Damn, she's a really nice person. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, Kakashi-sensei, did you find anything out in that old lab? Something we missed. Kakashi shook his head. Nothing concrete. I did find the factory chamber, where they were producing hundreds at a time. Those were also abandoned. I picked up a few charts while I was there, too, just for evidence. I didn't find any information on Sasuke's whereabouts, though. Naruto's face contorted in a frown. Damn it, he said. We'll definitely find him, even if I have to turn the whole village upside down. I'm not finished, interrupted the masked Junin. I was about to say that even if I didn't find anything on Sasuke, I did find something of interest. Look at this. Kakashi unfolded a map of Konoha and its environs. I found it among the progress charts in the head technician's office. A map of the village. Naruto questioned. Sasuke knows the village. Why would they need? Wait a minute, he paused, looking at it more closely. It's been marked on. They've been using it to plan something. That's what I had in mind, the senior ninja said. Several points on the map have been circled in red. Kakashi handed the map to Naruto, allowing him to study it further. Naruto looked it over thoroughly, naming off the circled points he recognized: the Hokage Tower, the Academy, the Council Building, Ichiraku Ramen. What are these other ones? This one is the Hyuga compound, Kakashi replied, pointing near one of the remaining circles, and this one is the dwelling place of the Aburame clan. The final circle is Anbu headquarters, but you're not supposed to know that, so you didn't hear it from me. Pretty much all of those are really important places, Naruto mused. And as far as we know, Sasuke doesn't have any people in there, except for in the council. Could these places be Sasuke's targets? Again, that's what I thought, said Kakashi. It seems very likely that your theory, the one about Sasuke's clone army being a distraction to get the real threat into position, is true. Now we may know what they are in position for. But, Kakashi-sensei, asked Naruto, why would they want to attack the council if that's where their mole is? And why the hell would they want to attack Ichiraku Ramen, specifically? If they're going to end up occupying the village, then there are plenty of places they can capture to get their food from. I thought about that while you were sleeping, Kakashi said. Naruto didn't think it was truth, seeing the closed book in his old teacher's hands, but he let him continue. I think that Orochimaru's agents must have orders to specifically not attack their own man, but it could be that they plan to kill him with the rest, since by that time his usefulness would be past. And I'm fairly sure that Ichiraku Ramen is a target purely because Sasuke knows how much you love that place. Naruto's facial muscles twitched in anger. Bastard, he said, thinks he's gonna break my spirit like that, huh? Like I'll let him. Putting that aside, said Kakashi, our theory comes down to this: Orochimaru's forces are in hiding in multiple places in this village, awaiting orders from Sasuke or whoever is in command. They are going to be targeting key members of our society, Hokage-sama, the council, the Anbu leaders, and the leaders of influential shinobi clans. They might go pillaging along the way, or it may just be a quiet assassination mission in preparation for a later invasion. But either way, it's a serious danger. Naruto looked at his old sensei gravely. Both of them were running the same bad memories through their heads, stretching the silence and gathering the spiritual strength against the coming danger. We'll stop them, he said. They couldn't take Konoha down before, and they won't take it this time, either. Kakashi nodded. The door opened. Hinata's P-frame was half visible through the doorway. Oh, she said, appearing unsure of herself, may I come in? Yeah, Hinata. Come right in, grinned Naruto. My house is your house, as long as you like. Hinata let out the breath she'd been holding. She'd been afraid to enter Naruto's house. At first, not all people took kindly to people entering their homes uninvited, and it seemed that she'd interrupted an important conversation. Seeing that neither of these was a factor in her welcome, the shy girl stepped into Naruto's bedroom for the first time. Anno, I brought some medicine, she said, holding up a bottle of a powdery, yellow-white substance. Kiba-kun and Neji-ni-san use it often when they practice with me. It helps heal damage from the Juken. Naruto declined with a nod of his head. I'm fine, he said. Besides, since you're such a good shinobi now, Kiba and Neji are going to be needing it a lot more than me. Flattered at Naruto's compliment, Hinata blushed and mumbled incoherent thanks while she put the medicine away. Kakashi, knowing what was likely to take place and not feeling the need to interrupt, said, well, I'm off to report to Hokage-sama about this. Naruto, don't worry about answering for your scuffle with the Hyuga back there, I'll answer for you. Naruto smiled appreciatively at him. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. See ya. Later, said Kakashi. He disappeared out the door, leaving Hinata with Naruto in the bedroom. A moment of uneasy silence passed between the two of them. Naruto, while he enjoyed Hinata's company, couldn't think of any relevant conversation to make with her. However, he was unwilling to ask her to leave. Hinata had something to say, but she was having problems finding the correct words, and being alone in a bedroom with her lifelong love wasn't exactly easy on her nerves. The result was two confused teenagers sitting in silence, each glancing at the floor and fumbling for something to say to the other. They broke the silence at the same time. Anoza. Ano. They were cast into a yet more embarrassing and awkward silence. Naruto, being more proactive, broke this one much more quickly. You first, Hinata. Ano, no, Naruto-kun should speak first in his own home. She kicked herself mentally for being so shy. Hey, I'm yielding to you. I owe you for lugging my heavy carcass home, after all. So you were awake for that. Her blush increased tenfold, if he had heard her insist that she carry him, and heard Sakura's lewd comments that came after. Nah, Kakashi-sensei told me, Naruto said. He grinned warmly at Hinata, an expression that soothed her nerves a little. Oh, Hinata, didn't your dad need you for something? Yes, she began nervously, but I wanted to make sure that you were okay first, because, well, after what you did, standing up to Captain Hiroto for me. You didn't need to do that at all, but it was a very brave and kind thing. Thank you, Naruto-kun. Naruto's face was wrapped with attention during her slightly stumbling speech. It wasn't every day that he was thanked so profusely by such a nice and pretty girl. Now, though, it settled back into its usual wide grin, pleased to be complimented. No problem, Hinata. Any time. And thanks a lot to you for going with us today. Hinata smiled happily, having accomplished her objective without a problem. You're welcome. I will go home to my father, then. She bowed to the master of the house, and then turned to walk out the door. She was halted by a strong hand on her arm. Hinata. She turned in the gentle grasp. There was Naruto, inches from her, with a serious look on his whisker-marked face. Hinata looked up at him like a cornered doe. He's so close. Then she shook off her nervousness and said, why yes. Registering that his hand now clasped the arm of a girl who, due to her proximity and the wideness of her pale eyes, had a rapidly climbing cuteness factor, Naruto's brain momentarily imploded. He forgot what he'd been about to ask. The two of them stood silent for the third time that day. Hinata's face took on a questioning aspect. Naruto-kun. He snapped back to himself. Oh, yeah. Hinata, I want to see you again tomorrow. Oh. Hinata was once again the befuddled one. What for, Naruto-kun? Naruto realized he wasn't quite sure, himself. He improvised, and managed to come up with a pretty good answer. You know, just to make sure nothing goes wrong with your folks. You're kinda late now, thanks to me. I wanna make sure you're alright. Hinata was so taken aback by this that she didn't speak. Rather, her mouth didn't, her face was talking ever more loudly by the moment. This was fine, for Naruto's improvisational rambling had yet to end. And if anyone's going to treat you the same way that Hiroto guy did today, I want to know about that. Yeah, I'll kick their asses, all of them. Yeah. Naruto then went into a very amusing pantomime, stamping around and squashing imaginary Hirotos. Watching him, Hinata's shock wore off, and she broke into giggles at the routine. Naruto finished his mock rampage and faced her again, putting his hand behind his head and grinning abashedly. They remained that way for a short moment, and then Hinata turned towards the door again. Then, I'll come by tomorrow, when I have time, she said. Goodbye, Naruto-kun. All right, Naruto responded, waving to her. She walked out of the bedroom and made her way to the apartment's exit. Just as she closed the door behind her, she heard Naruto's voice call out, "Take care, Hinata-chan." The door closed with a heavy thunk. Hinata stood on his doorstep a long moment, practically glowing red at his new addition to her name. Then she smiled with a happiness unrivaled by any she had experienced before. Beginning the walk home, she absorbed herself in blissful thoughts. Haruka-san. I think you may have been right. Thank you. The black clouds above her parted, letting the sunlight through to shine on her head. It accompanied her all the way to the end of the street. Ooh. With Hinata gone, Naruto found himself alone. For a long time, he simply stood in his bedroom doorway, lost in thoughts. Then, he began to do what he had not done since the first day he had lived here. He started rearranging furniture. When everything was in a completely different place, he cleaned out his refrigerator and reorganized that. From there he moved on to his kitchen cabinets, his bathroom shelves, and everything else that wasn't nailed down. On and on he went, for over an hour. The outer struggle that Naruto fought to see everything in the apartment fit together neatly was a parallel of the struggle that he fought to piece together the puzzle whose parts had been splattered about in his brain. He roamed the cavities of himself as he navigated the pathways through his rooms, searching, picking up, testing, placing, and replacing. Finally, as he set his picture of the old Team 7 down in a different place for the umpteenth time, Naruto collapsed onto his bed, finished. Naruto's apartment was unrecognizable as his own. His face showed that his thoughts were likewise alien. Crap, he said. I think that maybe I really like her. Ooh. Hinata entered the compound unchallenged. Nobody came to the gate to greet her, nobody was waiting to lead her to her father. The front courtyard appeared completely deserted. She went cold inside. This did not bode well at all. Since the announcement that Hinata was to inherit the seat of power had been made, she had not entered the Hyuga compound without being greeted by a servant or her father. Memories came back to her of the days when she had been a weak and unappreciated girl, and she shivered. Back then, whenever her father had summoned her, it had never been good news. It occurred to Hinata that there probably wasn't going to be good news now, either. She walked the path around the main building towards the first garden. In the old days, her father had always awaited her there when he had summoned her. Her footsteps resounded off the path, counting out a cadence that was like a death march to Hinata's fearful ears. After 2 perfectly good days, it seemed that things were going to become difficult again. She felt that the tenuous peace that had existed in the Hyuga household for the last 2 years was on the verge of evaporating. Hinata found her father just where she expected him to be, in the shadows of the fruit orchard, his back to the garden gate, arbitrarily admiring the progress of his flora while he waited. She gulped down her anxiety and steeled herself for the worst. With unsteady arms, she opened the gate and walked into the orchard. Hiyashi turned around to face her, and Hinata was surprised at his expression. She had expected to see anger, fury, and wrath in his visage. What she found instead were anguish, sorrow, and regret. Out of concern, Hinata moved closer to her father, and opened her mouth to ask what was wrong. But her father held up a hand, stopping her. Hinata gasped in alarm. Within that hand, Hiyashi held the photographs that Haruka had given her. I cannot permit it, he said. I will not permit it. Father, silence, he commanded, dropping the hand. For months, I have been hearing the rumors. I did not heed them. I could never have expected that you would let yourself into this. In my desire to keep you as my daughter, I cast them from my head. Hinata's lips quavered, and Hiyashi's face twisted in grief. But I was wrong to do so. I will not ask how far you have taken this, as I fear the pain of the answer would destroy me. Father. Silence. He repeated. Hinata, you have known for a long time that my advisors, the council, do not wish you to succeed me. Despite your accomplishments, they still see you as too soft, too weak. It took all of my effort to overrule them without inciting rebellion. If you have allowed yourself to become chained to this demon child, then I cannot keep them placated unless you are removed from the list of heirs. Father, said Hinata, in a dark, low tone of voice. Hiyashi did not silence her. This was a tone that he had never once, in his life, heard from his first daughter. He looked into her eyes, saw them fiercer than he thought they could be, and was cowed. She continued speaking. You are only the second person to refer to Naruto-kun in front of me as a demon child. Yet, I am already growing sick at hearing it. Hinata's voice rose with each word she spoke. She was audible throughout the garden now. Today I saw this, demon, that you fear, she went on. At first, I was frightened, as you are. It was strange and wild and unfamiliar, and I could not help but tremble before it. I was the soft, weak, girl that the council believes me to be, for a moment. And then, father, I returned to myself, my better self, and summoned the nerve to approach it. For Naruto-kun was within it, I could see. Not part of it, not one with it, but inside it. As I approached it, it turned to me and I looked into its eyes. The eyes were the demon's eyes, and I thought for a moment that I was to be there. Yet, even as I prepared to be father, the eyes became those of Naruto-kun, a human being, and then the demon was within him, not the opposite. Naruto-kun houses this demon that frightens you so, but he is not the demon himself, he contains it, and he controls it. Hiyashi could not believe that his oldest daughter, the quiet, obedient, kind girl that he had fathered for 15 years, was speaking so determinedly and powerfully to him. His sliver eyes were open to their fullest, so surprised that they could not so much as blink. She had still more to say. Then, as we carried him home in his exhaustion, Haruno Sakura explained everything to me. The name of the demon you fear is Kyubi. Hinata watched her father flinch at this, but did not stop. Yondaime Hokage-sama, so the story has been told, sealed the Kyubi away. Our generation has not been told what became of it. But your generation, father, knows the truth, that the monster was sealed inside the body of a newborn child. In Naruto-kun. She was almost shouting now, and her eyes were watering. Speaking to her father this way, however necessary, was painful. Yondaime-sama wanted Naruto-kun to be revered as a hero, seen for what he is, the Kyubi's jailer, not for what sleeps within him. But your generation ignored him. That is why he was treated so badly, all that time. That is why he was neglected, shunned, and hated by all but the kindest of people, bless them. Yes, father, bless them. Bless the ones who helped the demon child. Her monologue ended. Both of them stood rooted in place, Hinata glaring at her father for the first time in recorded history, Hiyashi looking upon his daughter with disbelief. Above them, lightning flared in the sky, and thunder crashed about them, punctuating Hinata's words with booming cacophony. For the first time since the onset of the clouds, rain began to fall. Hiyashi's tears, which had not been seen since his first day in power, fell with it. He was going through what every parent must, one day, only 100 times more painfully than the average parent. He was losing his daughter, and he had only just acknowledged her. I truly wish that I could believe what you say, he said, his voice filled with grief, and that the advisory council could believe, but we cannot. If I were the Hyuga Hiyashi that I once was, I could grind the council underfoot and shove all of this under the table. But I have been complacent. Hinata kept glaring at him, though her own tears had now joined his in the soil. Hiyashi forced himself to keep going. In my effort to heal the rift between the main and branch houses, I slackened my hold upon the reins of government, let more decisions be made among the members of the clan. The elders have taken advantage of my complacency and seized power for themselves. I should have reacted at the first signs of conspiracy, but now the advisory council has as much influence in the clan as I do. There is no way for me to be sure who is loyal to whom anymore, and we are more divided among ourselves than we ever were. The downpour came upon them, weighing them down, plunging their once happy coexistence into murky darkness. If I do not keep them appeased, then they will rip the clan in half with civil war. Therefore I give you this choice, Hinata. More lightning, so bright that it nearly blinded them. More rain, so heavy that it soaked them to the marrow of their bones, the essence of their souls, dragging them into dark depths. It is not too late to disavow all knowledge of this. You may claim that you were set up, that these photographs were planted. You can have everything returned to the way it was. But, barring missions, you must never again associate with Uzumaki Naruto. Your contact with him must be professional only. The alternative. Hiyashi paused, gulped down sweat and rainwater and tears. He had never imagined that he would be saying these next words to his own daughter, not in this life or the next. Yet, everything else was shattered. How much more pain would this bring, the like of which he had not already endured? The alternative is to be engraved with the caged bird seal. You will become a member of the branch house, and forever forfeit my legacy. It hurt more than he had thought it would. The words reached Hinata through the storm, and he could see that it hurt her, as well. Her glare dropped, and her eyes filled with pain and hesitancy, indecision. So, it has come down to this, he thought. In the end, I was the one whose weakness destroyed us. Hisashi, Now more than ever, I believe it should have been you to succeed our father. They did not move for several long, agonized minutes. Then a messenger came to them through the storm, ambling towards Hiashi in the pelting rain. Hiashi-sama, he called. At the request of Tsunade-sama, you are to report to the Hokage Tower as soon as possible. Ooh. Keisuke was glad to be indoors. His ever-alert ears picked up the roaring noise of the storm even through the moderately soundproofed walls and windows of the Hokage's office. Have to feel sorry for the others who were summoned, he thought. Having had to report to the tower to complete his registration anyway, Keisuke had been the first to arrive at the meeting. Now he stood before Tsunade and her attendant, awaiting the rest of the participants. Next to arrive was Nara Shikamaru, looking more annoyed than he was damp. He was followed by Hitaki Kakashi, who somehow had not been afflicted by the downpour at all. Keisuke, having never met the man but been told numerous stories by Naruto, surmised that he had been here early, as well, having arrived at the meeting later due to being occupied with his book. Hyuga Neji was third, and only moments behind him came Hyuga Hiashi. What a pleasant surprise, Keisuke said, sensing the familiar aura. He was indeed surprised, but he managed to flash one of his evil grins as the Hyuga head came to stand before the Hokage. Hiashi did not acknowledge it, however. Keisuke found, through further examination of the man's aura, that he was not at all in the mood to play. In fact, Hiashi was flat out sulking. This was definitely not what Keisuke had thought he would see from the once proud Hyuga, and he didn't like it. His enemies were supposed to be strong, robust, confident. He didn't want to have to fight an opponent who was in such a pathetic state. Tsunade called the meeting to order. Haka no Keisuke, Hyuga Neji, Hyuga Hiashi, and Hitaki Kakashi. You are here, she said, to answer for a number of complications that have arisen today. Her eyes swept the room, and she gave the ones she meant a glare that could kill lesser creatures. I believe that most of you know which complications apply to you. The Godime Hokage lifted her finger and indicated Kakashi, who was standing on the far right. Explain. Kakashi launched into the tale that Sakura told him, explaining the provocation, the result, and the aftermath in dull, militaristic detail. That story is consistent with what the Anbu believed to be true, Tsunade said. Naruto's actions were justifiable, by his standards. He was defending a comrade, and he had sufficient sense to avoid his opponent. Hyuga Hiroto acted in self-defense, as expected of any shinobi. However, I will need to speak to both of them personally, to Naruto about his rash and hasty decision and to Hiroto for mistreatment and use of excessive force on a genin. All who were present, minus Keisuke, caught the dangerous gleam in her eye. They knew what kind of speech she would be giving. Tsunade moved on. Hyuga Neji. Hi, Hokage-sama. Neji's face was straight as an arrow, as was his posture. You saw the incident that took place beyond the east wall this afternoon. Hi. Explain. Neji, without so much as blinking, recounted what he had seen of the attack on Haruka, the latter's magnificent and valiant defense, and the manner in which he had defeated the reinforcements without revealing his own idini to the attacking Hyuga. Tsunade nodded. Hiashi. This ambush was not on my orders, replied the Hyuga head bitterly. It wasn't, Keisuke thought. Carefully, he probed the man's aura with all of his newly reground feelers, but he could find no trace of a lie within his stoicism and misery. Either he's very good at dissembling, or the control problems that he's having are much bigger than I originally guessed. All right, the facts of Neji's involvement are not to be disclosed. He will need to remain in good faith among his clan. Haka no Keisuke. Hi, Godime-sama, Keisuke said, snapping to attention before her. I do not have any reports of violence concerning you. However, since you are new to this village, and because there are rumors circulating regarding you and a supposed malicious intent towards the Hyuga, I have called you here to be sure that you are in no way involved in this mess. Do you or do you not bear any hostile intentions to the Hyuga clan? I do not, Godime-sama, said Keisuke, though, if I may speak freely. You have my permission, replied Tsunade. Keisuke nodded. I am not content to leave the Hyuga as they are. Since the founding of their clan, they have been divided into factions, with one side always either lording over or serving the other. They are divided still, but now it has become clear to me that it is fragmenting in more directions than in between the main house and the branch. Not only that, but they have now demonstrated hostility towards my friend, Hyuga Haruka. Another friend of mine, Uzumaki Naruto, has the means to end this fragmentation and civil war peacefully. My actions towards the Hyuga are meant to pave the way for him to work his work, and at the same time to preserve him from harm. I assure you, my intent is to bring stability to the Hyuga, not destruction. If Neji did not stand between Keisuke and Hiashi, there were many who thought that Hiashi might have strangled the blind man. As it was, he almost cried out in protest, but a glare from Tsunade see him short. With that powerful authority in front of him, checking him, Hiashi dared not move or even speak out of turn. Having made sure that Hiashi was kept thoroughly in check, the Hokage addressed Keisuke again. Your alibi suits you, and is even somewhat consistent with the rumors, at least the ones about you and Naruto. I don't see any need to have a Biki talk to you. You will be free to go at the conclusion of this meeting, she said. Thank you, Tsunade-sama, Keisuke said. He bowed, and Hiashi fought down his anger once more. Now the Hokage returned to her desk. Hyuga Hiashi, you are to keep your elite guard and your other clan members in line. If another violent incident occurs with your people, you will be made to answer for it. You are dismissed. Hiashi bowed to her stiffly, and then stormed out of the office, not even looking at Keisuke. Wow, thought the blind man, something must have happened. Something big. Hitaki Kakashi. Hi, I believe you had something to report to me. Yes, Tsunade-sama. Well, what is it? Keisuke listened to the famed copy ninja's report boredly at first, but soon developed a great interest. So it seems that this Sasuke, that Naruto kept talking about has come back to haunt us, he thought. The poor kid. I'm putting the fate of the Hyuga clan on his shoulders already, and the gods saddle him with this on top of that. Destiny is so cruel sometimes. Tsunade also was intrigued. You are sure of everything you have said, Kakashi? It's only a theory, Hokage-sama, but Naruto and I think that it is accurate to some degree, replied Kakashi. Tsunade appeared to be pondering this intensively. Then she turned to the only person yet to speak at the meeting. Shikamaru, you've made sound judgments in the past, what do you make of it? Geez, so that's why you called me here, grumbled the young Junin. Frankly, Kakashi's idea sounds a lot like a shogi game with invisible pieces, and it's the opponent's move. Your enemy is everywhere and, at the same time, he is nowhere. There is no way we can be certain that the enemy is hiding under your doormat, Hokage-sama, but we do know that there is an enemy, and it's more than possible, considering his motives, that he's playing on our shogi board, though we can't know when or where he will strike. I see, said Tsunade. Then she came to a decision. Haka no Keisuke, Nara Shikamaru, Hyuga Neji. You are commanded to thoroughly search all of the areas circled on Kakashi's map for signs of Orochimaru's organization. You will report to me daily on your progress. If you make a discovery, you will not investigate further, but report to me immediately. Venture into no dark corner alone, and arouse no suspicions among the villagers. Shikamaru, you are the leader of this effort. Hi, Hokage-sama, replied the young Junin. Man, what a pain. The Hokage nodded her satisfaction, then dismissed them all. Kakashi was left in the office with Tsunade. I suppose your team is going to continue looking, too? She asked. Naruto will go, no matter what we say, and Sakura will follow him. You know that. Yes, she sighed, I suppose they will. Watch over them, Kakashi. The masked Junin bowed and left the office. Tsunade, thoroughly stressed, reached into her desk drawer for a concealed bottle there. For once, Shizune did not stop her. But, you know, Tsunade-sama, said the attendant, you really ought to think about assigning personal guards for the people in the greatest danger. That's a good point. I suppose I'll just have the Hyuga use their own guards. Hiroto with Hiashi, Neji with Hinata. But, Tsunade-sama, said Shizune, you just put Hyuga Neji on a mission. Oh, thought Tsunade, so I did. Then, a mischievous smile came to the Hokage's face. Tsunade-sama, what is that look for? Shizune, I believe I know a way to keep Hyuga Hinata protected and keep Team 7 out of trouble at the same time. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.